Welcome, dear listeners, to a captivating odyssey into the resplendent realm of Elizabethan poetry, a journey that unfolds within the pages of this enchanting YouTube audiobook. With every word, every stanza, we invite you to step back in time and immerse yourself in the luminous tapestry of poetic artistry that emerged during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. The Elizabethan era, often referred to as the Golden Age, was a time of cultural effervescence, intellectual exploration, and artistic fervor. It was a period when poets adorned the English language with verses that continue to resonate across centuries. From the hallowed halls of courtly gatherings to the raucous stages of bustling theatres, Elizabethan poetry offered a symphony of voices that captured the essence of the age. In this audiobook, we shall embark on a literary expedition that takes us through the winding lanes of London, the chambers of Tudor palaces, and the hushed corners of contemplative solitude. We shall walk alongside the likes of William Shakespeare, the unparalleled bard whose sonnets and plays have left an indelible mark on the tapestry of human expression. We shall explore the epic vistas painted by Edmund Spenser in The Faerie Queene, a work that embodies the spirit of chivalry, allegory, and poetic innovation. Christopher Marlowe's mighty lines, imbued with both passion and profundity, shall transport us to the crossroads of tragedy and wit. Sir Philip Sidney, the courtier and poet, shall open the doors to his poetic musings, revealing a soul enraptured by beauty, honor, and idealism. These poets, along with many others of their time, bestowed upon us a literary legacy that continues to dazzle, challenge, and inspire. As we embark on this literary voyage, we extend to you an invitation: subscribe to the channel English Poetry. By doing so, you become a part of a vibrant community of poetry enthusiasts, a confluence of minds that appreciate the profound impact of language and verse. Subscribing grants you access to a trove of poetic explorations, spanning various eras and genres, cultivating a deeper understanding of the intricate relationship between words and the human experience. So, whether you are a devoted admirer of classic literature, a seeker of linguistic beauty, or a curious soul eager to explore the cultural gems of the past, we encourage you to subscribe and set sail on this voyage through Elizabethan poetry. Prepare to be spellbound, for within these pages lies a world of emotions, thoughts, and dreams woven into the very fabric of the English language, inviting you to partake in the magic of literature's enduring legacy. Elizabethan poetry, a luminous facet of the broader Renaissance period, stands as a testament to the vibrant cultural milieu that flourished during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, 1558–1603, in England. This era, often referred to as the Golden Age of English literature, witnessed an unparalleled outpouring of poetic brilliance that continues to captivate hearts and minds to this day. At the heart of Elizabethan poetry lies the towering figure of William Shakespeare, whose poetic genius encompassed both sonnets and plays that resonate with timeless wisdom, emotional depth, and a profound understanding of the human condition. His 154 sonnets, published in 1609, explore themes of love, time, beauty, and mortality. These sonnets, written in iambic pentameter and marked by intricate rhyme schemes, remain a hallmark of English poetic craftsmanship. The era also gave birth to the epic masterpiece, The Faerie Queene, by Edmund Spenser. This allegorical poem, celebrating the virtues of chivalry in the splendor of Elizabethan England, comprises 6 books, out of a planned 12, and showcases Spenser's mastery of intricate verse forms like the Spenserian stanza. Through its enchanting narratives and vivid imagery, The Faerie Queene encapsulates the aspirations and ideals of the Elizabethan age. Christopher Marlowe, a contemporary of Shakespeare, contributed to the era's poetic legacy with his passionate and dramatic works. Marlowe's Hero and Leander, a narrative poem of love and tragedy, weaves a tale of mythological beauty and human emotion. His Drive, Faustus, while primarily a play, exudes poetic brilliance in its exploration of ambition, knowledge, and the human desire for power. Sir Philip Sidney, an accomplished courtier and poet, left an indelible mark with his sonnet sequence, Astrophel and Stella. These sonnets blend personal introspection with Petrarchan conventions, addressing themes of unrequited love, desire, and the interplay between reality and artifice. Sidney's Defense of Poesy also emerged as a foundational work in literary criticism, defending the value and purpose of poetry in society. The Elizabethan era witnessed the establishment of the English sonnet form, characterized by 3 quatrains followed by a final rhymed couplet. This structure, popularized by Shakespeare and Sidney, offered poets a canvas for exploring intricate emotional landscapes and philosophical musings. Theatre and poetry shared a symbiotic relationship during this period. The London theatres, including the Globe Theatre, served as platforms for the performance of poetic dramas by Marlowe, Shakespeare, and others. These plays, often written in blank verse, showcased the dynamic interplay between poetry, language, and dramatic action. Elizabethan poetry was marked by diverse themes, from courtly love and pastoral idylls to political commentary and religious contemplation. The sonnets and songs of the era captured the spectrum of human experiences, from the heights of ecstasy to the depths of despair, from the intricacies of interpersonal relationships to the cosmic reflections on the nature of existence. The effervescence of Elizabethan poetry was influenced by the broader cultural shifts of the Renaissance, including the revival of classical learning, the exploration of new horizons, and the spirit of intellectual inquiry. The exploration of human potential and the celebration of human creativity were central to the ethos of the age, as evidenced in the soaring verses of the poets who graced this era. Elizabethan poetry, with its resplendent tapestry of creativity, encompasses an array of poetic forms that shaped the literary landscape of the era. The masque, a form of courtly entertainment combining poetry, music, dance, and elaborate costumes, gained popularity during the reign of Elizabeth I. These lavish performances celebrated occasions and courtly events, often carrying allegorical or mythological themes that reflected the aspirations and values of the aristocracy. The Elizabethan sonnet sequence, which expanded upon the Italian Petrarchan tradition, provided a platform for poets to explore a range of emotions and themes. Beyond love, these sequences delved into topics such as time, mortality, spirituality, and the complexities of desire. The sequence's structure allowed for a progression of thought and feeling, inviting readers into the poet's introspective journey. The concept of conceits, elaborate and often elaborate metaphors or comparisons, added depth and intellectual intricacy to Elizabethan poetry. Poets like John Donne were particularly renowned for their ingenious use of conceits, weaving together seemingly unrelated ideas to evoke complex emotions and insights. Religious poetry flourished during the Elizabethan era, reflecting the diverse spiritual landscape of the time. Devotional poems expressed a deep piety, while religious controversies of the period found poetic expression in works like John Milton's On the Morning of Christ's Nativity, which combines Christian themes with classical allusions. The collaborative nature of Elizabethan poetry extended beyond the mere exchange of ideas. Poets and musicians often worked together to create song lyrics, resulting in a vibrant fusion of words and melody. These songs, performed at court and in taverns, captured the pulse of daily life while showcasing the interplay of oral and literary traditions. The metaphysical poets, a group including John Donne, George Herbert, and Andrew Marvell, introduced innovative approaches to language, thought, and form. These poets employed intricate metaphors, paradoxes, and intellectual exploration to examine profound questions about existence, love, and spirituality. The translation of classical works from Latin and Greek into English played a pivotal role in shaping Elizabethan poetry. Poets like Sir Thomas Wyatt and Sir Philip Sidney translated and adapted works by Petrarch, Virgil, and Horace, infusing these ancient texts with new life and resonance. The burgeoning interest in exploration and travel during the Elizabethan era found its echo in poetry. Poets celebrated discoveries of new lands, navigational feats, and the allure of distant horizons, reflecting the spirit of adventure that characterized the time. The patronage of poets by aristocrats in the royal court contributed to the flourishing of Elizabethan poetry. Poets often dedicated their works to patrons, and the favor of the court provided opportunities for both recognition and financial support. The theatricality of Elizabethan poetry is noteworthy, as many poets were not only writers but also performers. Public readings and recitations added a performative element to poetry, showcasing the poet's skill in captivating audiences through the spoken word. In delving deeper into the realms of Elizabethan poetry, we uncover a universe teeming with innovation, complexity, and boundless creative expression. This poetic legacy, with its diverse forms, themes, and voices, continues to resonate is a testament to the indomitable human spirit and its capacity to breathe life into words and ideas. Within the splendid tapestry of Elizabethan poetry lies a trove of lesser explored facets that contribute to its allure and significance. The concept of ephemeral literature emerged during this era, encompassing poetry that celebrated transient moments, seasonal changes, and the fleeting nature of life itself. Poets like Robert Herrick captured the essence of such moments in verses that celebrated everything from cherry blossoms to weddings. The emergence of epigrams, succinct and often witty poetic compositions, added a touch of brevity and humor to the poetic landscape. These pithy verses packed profound insights and commentary into just a few lines, showcasing the poet's ability to convey complex ideas concisely. The pastoral tradition, popularized by poets like Edmund Spenser and Sir Philip Sidney, depicted rural and idyllic scenes as a counterpoint to the complexities of urban life. These pastoral poems, often set in an idealized countryside, explored themes of innocence, love, and the harmony between humanity and nature. The influence of emblem books, a genre that combined visual imagery with moral or allegorical explanations, can be seen in some Elizabethan poetry. These books contain symbolic illustrations accompanied by short verses, fostering an interplay between the visual and the textual. The art of versification reached new heights during this era. Poets experimented with intricate rhyme schemes, meters, and rhythms, showcasing their virtuosity in the crafting of verses that were both melodious and intellectually stimulating. The role of women poets in the Elizabethan era, though often overshadowed by their male counterparts, is a fascinating aspect. Figures like Emilia Lanier and Mary Roth contributed to the poetic canon with works that addressed gender dynamics, love, and identity from a distinctly feminine perspective. The notion of praise poetry gained prominence as poets composed verses that lauded esteemed figures, including monarchs, patrons, and influential individuals. These poems were often commissioned as expressions of admiration and loyalty, serving as vehicles for flattery and self-promotion. The use of classical mythology in Elizabethan poetry provided poets with a rich palette of symbolism and metaphor. Mythological figures and narratives were reimagined and interwoven into poems, adding layers of meaning and cultural resonance. The exploration of the grotesque and the macabre found expression in poems that delved into themes of death, decay, and the transitory nature of existence. These poems served as memento mori, reminding readers of the impermanence of life and the inevitability of mortality. The intricate dance between form and content in Elizabethan poetry can be witnessed through the shape poem or concrete poem. These poems were visual representations of their subject matter, with the arrangement of words on the page mirroring the poem's theme or imagery. As we journey deeper into the heart of Elizabethan poetry, we uncover a mosaic of genres, themes, and techniques that testify to the boundless creativity of the era's poets. Their works, often steeped in tradition yet daringly innovative, continue to reverberate through time, offering us glimpses into the multifaceted tapestry of human thought, emotion, and imagination. Venturing further into the rich realm of Elizabethan poetry, we unveil additional layers of literary innovation, cultural influences, and poetic experimentation that define this era. The concept of topical poetry played a significant role in responding to current events and social issues. Poets seized the opportunity to engage with matters of politics, religion, and society, using their verses as a means of commentary and reflection. The exploration of the ubiquitous theme of carpe diem, or seize the day, gained prominence during this era. Poets, inspired by the fleeting nature of life, created verses that urged readers to embrace the present moment and make the most of their time. The rise of humanism during the Renaissance influenced Elizabethan poetry. Poets like Sir Thomas More and Sir Thomas Wyatt engaged with humanist ideals, blending classical scholarship with native English forms to craft works that celebrated the potential of human intellect and expression. The Elizabethan, plain style, emphasized clear and straightforward language, a departure from the ornate styles of previous eras. Poets like Ben Jonson championed this style, focusing on clarity and accessibility in their poetry. The interplay between the courtly and the common is a fascinating aspect of Elizabethan poetry. While courtly poetry celebrated the refined ideals of the aristocracy, the rise of the printing press allowed for the dissemination of poetry among a broader audience, bridging the gap between social classes. The influence of Elizabethan drama, particularly the works of Shakespeare, influenced the poetic language of the era. The dramatic monologues and soliloquies found in plays like Hamlet and Macbeth demonstrated the power of language to convey complex emotions and psychological depths. The exploration of paradoxes, contradictions, and enigmatic themes added layers of complexity to Elizabethan poetry. Poets like John Donne crafted verses that challenged conventional wisdom and invited readers to engage with paradoxical ideas. The coterie poem, or occasional poem, reflected the private circles and gatherings of poets and intellectuals. These poems were often created for specific events or occasions, showcasing the camaraderie and intellectual exchange among poets. The thematic exploration of epithalamia, or wedding poems, celebrated the joys and challenges of marriage. These poems, often infused with both hope and realism, offered insights into the complexities of human relationships. The influence of Petrarchanism, or the imitation of Petrarch's style, extended beyond sonnets to encompass broader themes of unrequited love, idealized beauty, and emotional intensity. The motif of "the poet is a lover" emerged in Elizabethan poetry, blurring the lines between the personal and the poetic. Poets often depicted themselves as figures tormented by love's passions and dilemmas, creating a fusion of persona and creative expression. As we continue to explore the multifaceted world of Elizabethan poetry, we encounter a plethora of themes, techniques, and influences that shape the poetic legacy of the era. Each layer of creativity and innovation adds to the intricate mosaic of human thought, emotion, and expression that defines this golden age of English literature. The emergence of wit as a central element of poetry is a notable aspect. Poets like John Donne were celebrated for their wit, which encompassed intellectual wordplay, paradoxes, and intricate conceits that challenged readers' perceptions. The theme of revenge tragedy found its echo in certain poetic works, influenced by the popular genre of revenge plays in Elizabethan drama. These poems explored themes of vengeance, justice, and the moral complexities of seeking retribution. The influence of classical mythology extended beyond individual references, inspiring entire poetic narratives that reimagined and adapted ancient tales. Poets like Ovid, whose Metamorphoses provided a treasury of mythic stories, served as wellsprings of inspiration. The Elizabethan, Spenserian stanza, invented by Edmund Spenser, revolutionized the form of the English stanza. This intricate nine-line structure, combining rhyme and meter, lent itself to epic narratives and allegorical compositions. The exploration of the ubiquitous theme of melancholy, or melancholia, permeated Elizabethan poetry. Poets like Robert Burton and John Davies delved into the complexities of melancholy as both a temperament and a creative muse. The concept of the Elizabethan songbook added a musical dimension to poetry. These songbooks, often accompanied by melodies, enabled poets to craft lyrics that resonated with both the eye and the ear. The literary dialogues and conversations known as flitting or flitting verses showcased poetic sparring and verbal duels. Poets engaged in witty and sometimes raucous exchanges, demonstrating their verbal dexterity and humor. The occasional poem extended beyond personal events to encompass national celebrations, commemorations, and public occasions. Poets like Ben Jonson composed verses for events such as royal processions, triumphs, and public ceremonies. The influence of Petrarchan conventions, such as the idealization of the beloved, coexisted with a fascination for more realistic and sensual expressions of love. Poets like Thomas Wyatt and Sir Walter Raleigh explored the diverse facets of romantic and erotic experience. The Elizabethan persona poem allowed poets to adopt different voices and perspectives in their work. This technique facilitated the exploration of various viewpoints, often leading to multifaceted interpretations of the poem's themes. The garden poem emerged as a unique subgenre, celebrating the beauty of gardens as metaphorical spaces of love, fertility, and contemplation. These poems drew upon classical and biblical imagery to evoke the harmonious relationship between nature and human experience. As we delve deeper into Elizabethan poetry, we uncover a treasure trove of forms, themes, and artistic ingenuity that mirror the complexities and richness of the era. Each layer of innovation and expression adds to the tapestry of human creativity, inviting us to traverse the intricacies of language, emotion, and thought that define this remarkable period in literary history. As we navigate the intricate maze of Elizabethan poetry, a multitude of additional facets come to light, painting an even more comprehensive portrait of this remarkable era. The emergence of Petrarchan conceits heightened the art of comparison, allowing poets to draw elaborate parallels between seemingly unrelated elements. These conceits often ventured into the realm of the hyperbolic and the surreal, creating a striking juxtaposition of ideas. The theme of transience extended beyond the concept of carpe diem, permeating poems that meditated on the impermanence of fame, beauty, and human endeavors. Poets contemplated the ephemerality of human achievements against the backdrop of time's inexorable march. The prevalence of epic conventions in Elizabethan poetry is evident in the use of grand narratives, heroic quests, and larger-than-life characters. Poets like Spenser crafted allegorical epics that celebrated virtues and explored the epic hero's journey. The art of imitation was a cherished practice in Elizabethan poetry, wherein poets imitated and adapted the styles of classical authors. Imitation offered a means of engaging with revered literary figures of antiquity while infusing their works with contemporary themes. The exploration of pastoral elegy captured the essence of lamentation and mourning through the lens of pastoral imagery. Poets like John Milton penned elegies that expressed grief and commemorated the lives of individuals while weaving in elements of nature and rural life. The concept of revenge poetry reflected the intense emotional currents of the era. Poets harnessed the power of words to articulate grievances, seek retribution, and expose perceived injustices, contributing to a poetic tradition of confrontational expression. The art of parody thrived in Elizabethan poetry, with poets crafting humorous imitations or satirical renditions of established poetic forms, works, or styles. Parodies often served as vehicles for social critique and comedic commentary. The blazon, a poetic form that catalogued and celebrated the physical attributes of a beloved, was both celebrated and criticized by poets. This form allowed for the meticulous and elaborate description of beauty while also inviting discussions on objectification. The influence of the sonnet sequence extended beyond English shores, influencing poets across Europe. The themes and structures of English sonnet sequences, popularized by Shakespeare and Sidney, resonated with poets in other languages and cultures. The exploration of utopian visions found poetic expression in works that depicted idealized societies and realms. Poets like Sir Thomas More's Utopia and Francis Bacon's New Atlantis used verse to imagine societies guided by reason, justice, and humanistic ideals. As we continue to uncover the layers of Elizabethan poetry, we embrace the boundless diversity of forms, themes, and artistic ingenuity that define this era. Each additional facet further illuminates the intricate dance between tradition and innovation, language and thought, emotion and expression, encapsulating the ever-evolving essence of human creativity. The theme of metamorphosis found poetic expression as poets explored the transformative nature of existence. Drawing inspiration from Ovid's Metamorphoses, these works examined the mutable boundaries between humanity, nature, and the divine. The influence of alchemical symbolism added layers of mysticism and esotericism to Elizabethan poetry. Poets like John Donne employed alchemical imagery to convey spiritual transformation and the quest for inner enlightenment. The concept of courtly masks extended the idea of the mask beyond entertainment. These elaborate performances blended poetry, music, dance, and visual spectacle to convey political allegory, cultural commentary, and symbolic narratives. The epistolary poem introduced an intimate and personal dimension to poetry. These poems took the form of letters, offering insights into the private thoughts, emotions, and exchanges between poets and their beloveds or patrons. The Petrarchan cycle, a collection of sonnets that narrated a story or developed a theme, presented poets with a unique canvas for creative exploration. These cycles allowed for the development of characters, conflicts, and resolutions within the framework of the sonnet sequence. The motif of light and darkness permeated Elizabethan poetry, serving as a metaphor for knowledge, truth, and the human journey. Poets used the interplay of light and shadow to evoke emotional contrasts and philosophical contemplation. The role of translation expanded to include not only classical texts but also contemporary works from other languages. Poets like Sir Philip Sidney translated and adapted French and Italian poetry, enriching the English poetic tradition with diverse cultural influences. The lyric poem, characterized by its emotional intensity and personal voice, found resonance in the hearts of poets and readers alike. These poems captured fleeting moments, emotions, and reflections, showcasing the power of brevity and immediacy. The theme of paradox extended to the exploration of dualities and contradictions within the human experience. Poets grappled with the tension between opposing forces, often using paradoxes to evoke deeper layers of meaning and contemplation. The influence of emblem books extended beyond the textual realm to include visual elements. Poets collaborated with artists to create emblematic poetry, where verses and images worked in tandem to convey allegorical meanings and moral lessons. The response poem, where one poet responded to another's work, fostered poetic dialogues and conversations. These responses often offered counterpoints, critiques, or alternative perspectives, showcasing the dynamic nature of literary interaction. The concept of prosopopoeia, where inanimate objects, concepts, or abstractions are personified, added a touch of vividness and rhetorical flair to poetry. This technique allowed poets to imbue non-human elements with human qualities, breathing life into their verses. The theme of self-fashioning emerged as poets constructed and presented their personas through their work. Poets like Sir Philip Sidney and Edmund Spenser carefully curated their public images, blending their personal experiences with poetic invention. The Puritan poetry of the era addressed religious themes and moral concerns, often conveying a more serious and didactic tone. These poems grappled with questions of faith, morality, and the individual's relationship with God. The exploration of national identity found expression in poems that celebrated English culture, history, and the monarch. Poets like Spenser's The Fairy Queen offered allegorical representations of England's past, present, and future. The influence of Cavalier poetry added a dash of Cavalier spirit and wit to the poetic landscape. These poems celebrated pleasure, love, and the charms of daily life, presenting a contrast to the more solemn and moralizing poetry of the period. The theme of divine monarchy was reflected in poetry that emphasized the divine right of kings and the legitimacy of monarchs as rulers appointed by God. These poems reinforced the idea of the monarch's authority in the harmony between earthly and heavenly realms. The translation debate generated discussions about the value of translating foreign works into English. Poets like Ben Jonson engaged in this debate, reflecting on the challenges and merits of rendering foreign poetry accessible to English readers. The concept of amatory fiction emerged in the form of narrative poems that explored themes of love, desire, and sexual relationships. These poems often depicted the struggles and triumphs of romantic unions, offering insights into the complexities of human emotion. The epic parody subverted the conventions of traditional epic poetry. Poets like Alexander Pope and John Dryden crafted parodies that playfully mocked the grandiose themes and language of epic works, offering a satirical commentary on the genre. The theme of Neoplatonism influenced poets who explored the connection between physical love and spiritual transcendence. These works celebrated the idea of love as a transformative force that could lead individuals toward higher states of being. The concept of melodramatic poetry captured the heightened emotions and dramatic intensity of the era. Poets utilized melodramatic language and imagery to evoke powerful emotional responses, often depicting extreme situations and sensations. As we draw the curtains on our captivating journey through the intricate realms of Elizabethan poetry, we find ourselves enriched by the myriad facets of this literary tapestry. From the soaring sonnets of Shakespeare to the allegorical epics of Spenser, from the lyrical musings of Sidney to the thought-provoking paradoxes of Donne, we have traversed a world that resonates with creative brilliance and poetic mastery. Elizabethan poetry emerges as a kaleidoscope of human expression, where themes, forms, and techniques converge to capture the essence of an era characterized by intellectual curiosity, cultural effervescence, and artistic innovation. Through sonnets, songs, epics, and dialogues, poets of this era harnessed the power of language to explore the vast spectrum of human experience, from the ethereal heights of love and beauty to the depths of mortality and introspection. Our journey has illuminated the intertwining influences of classical traditions, religious ideals, social dynamics, and the complex interplay between the personal and the universal. As poets engaged with themes of love, nature, spirituality, and society, they left an indelible mark on the literary landscape, inviting us to contemplate the timeless questions that resonate across ages. In this audiobook, we've traversed the landscapes of emotions, intellect, and imagination, guided by the voices of poets who continue to speak to us through the pages of history. The magic of their words transcends time, inviting us to partake in a legacy of thought and feeling that binds us to the past while inspiring our future. Let us reflect upon the intricate dance between tradition and innovation, the echoes of human longing and introspection that reverberate through the verses we've explored. As we conclude this journey, let us carry with us the enduring legacy of Elizabethan poetry, a testament to the enduring power of language, imagination, and the boundless capacity of the human spirit to express, explore, and inspire.